Good afternoon, Jon, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me about your time as an ex-Jeppe rower, and also to talk about the Jeppe Boats and Blades fundraising initiative. Jon, a few questions, if you could. Guess the first one is, as a member and ultimately the captain of the first aid crew, how did this camaraderie and the commitment that's part and parcel of rowing impact your adult life?
Gee, Greg, it's had such a big impact in my life, and I, at the time didn't realize what an impact it would have. Later on, going into the corporate world. Remember, I was always the smallest, and most of my career in a rowing boat, I was always the youngest. So in the crew my first assignment as a cox for Jeppe was actually in the first 8 in 1980. In 1980, I'd barely turned 14 years old, so I was kind of thrown into the deep end, into the adolescent world as a young teenager. And for those who remember me, I was particularly small. It's the reason why I got the coxing position. I was particularly small, and I was very young and immature for my age. So it certainly taught me a lot. It made me grow up. I was also fortunate enough to think about it. I coxed 2 head boys in those 3 years that I was first in cox. I coxed Malcolm Sharp in 1980 and 81, and I coxed John Oliver in 1982 and 1983. That year. So, John Oliver. I think John Oliver became head boy in 84. Bill McClellan, who's actually still my business coach, he was head boy in 83, and in 82 Malcolm Sharp was head boy. So certainly at the time didn't realize, I had no idea that this little shouting, screaming 40-kilogram minute little man was ever going to amount to running a corporate business on the other side of the world. But I certainly was learning a lot of lessons. Really a great experience.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, whilst you might have been the smallest person, you're certainly the loudest. What you lacked in size, you made it for in volume. So that's my recollection. So in terms of the
current situation, I was also head of cadets, remember, so I had to shut. Yeah, Greg, sorry, man.
Go for it. So I'm guessing in terms of the current situation with Jeppe Rowing, how did you personally feel when you heard that the first 8 team did not have a boat of their own?
Yeah, I mean, obviously very sad, Greg, because it comes from a very similar place where we were. In 1980 was the year that we received. That Ellie, the boat Ellie Cat I was the first person to sit in the cox's seat of that boat, and we took it out on the maiden voyage. And we came out of a very similar circumstance. Before that, 8s never featured at Jeppe. Before 1980-81, we never really put together an 8. So that the 8 that was available was really just was almost a tub, to be honest. And we had been through a similar thing, and I'd come at just the right time when they had delivered the Ellie Cat, So we were the last guys ever to win SA Champs in a wooden boat. So I really felt for the guys. When you told me that these guys didn't have a boat, it resonated with me, because I remembered at the time we didn't really have the smartest of equipment. And in fact, when we got Ellie Cat, the wooden boat, St. Stithians, Cares, and Parktown all had carbon fiber boats, and we were still so proud of ourselves having this wooden boat. And to be fair, probably half a length slower than those carbon fiber boats were, and we were a bit of the laughing stock. So, long story short, it obviously resonated with me, and I felt it was a bit. It hurt a little to hear that the lads were without a boat at SA Champs.
Yeah, I think that's a story that we all feel, and the more I speak to old boys, that story is multiplied out and repeated through pretty much everyone I'm speaking to, or we speaking to. So From your time at Jeppe Rowing, what significant memory do you recall with fondness? And I'm sure there are many. Can you think of one?
You know what, Greg? I've got to probably make reference to this one particular Buffalo regatta we went down to. So if you can picture the scene, we went down in this. You'll remember we went down in this old F250, I think it was. This old Ford F250 was a 3-speed gear shift. My Grant Neal's dad, I think, was the custodian of that beautiful piece of machinery. And so in the back of the van, it was myself, Grant Neal, Stuart Brown, and we had the mattresses laid down and we were traveling. And there may have been one other person with us. But why I remember Stuart Brown, because he was such a colourful character. You know, Grant Neal was Grant Neal was also, you know, a year ahead of me. And so we got to this service station in this forsaken place in the middle of nowhere, and it was my stepdad, Dennis, and Mr. Neal got out the front, and they said, "Okay, boys, you need to disappear." And it was like midnight. It was probably 11:45 at night, and said, "You guys need to go and keep yourselves busy. Go and find a club or go and do something." I mean, we were in a pair of running shorts and a t-shirt, and they said, we need to sleep because we're really tired now. You know, we need to sleep until early hours of the morning, at least 4 or 5 hours sleep. So disappear. So we went off, and so we got kicked out of the back of the van, and we went down. So Stuart Brown, he said, "Listen, let's go to the local police station." We tell them we want to book ourselves into a cell for the night and just sleep in the cell. You know, so we went to the police station. We said, "Can we please check ourselves into the cell?" And they said, "No, you can't, unless you've done something wrong." So Stuart politely picked up one of the benches and said, "What if I throw this bench through the window?" So Grant Neal managed to get some kind of a sanity. And long story short, we ended up staying. There was a party going on across the road, just down the road from the police station. We ended up knocking on the door, Stuart Brown in front, and they ended up inviting us in, and we had some party food that they were having, and goodness knows what Grant and Stuart had, but we ended up, they gave us a bed and some blankets, and we slept in one of their spare rooms. And the next morning, Stuart came walking through to the room that I was in, and he had a dressing gown on and a toothbrush, and he was brushing his teeth. And I said, "Stewie, where did you get that?" And he said, "No, I mean," he said, "Look, I rinsed it properly and I cleaned it properly." But anyway, he had the owners of this house, he had their toothbrush and toothpaste, and we ended up back in the wagon at 5:30 in the morning at sunup and heading down. And then the most memorable rowing moment I had was when we got down there, that first boat race. We rowed the 1,500 Ks on I think it was 1,000 meters or 1,500 Ks on day one, and day two is the 500 meter sprint. And you know, I was kind of coerced. I didn't need much persuasion to behave in a manner that I did. But I for the entire duration of that race, I verbally abused the St. Stithians crew that drew the lane next to us. Started at the Cox and worked my way up. And I found out a little bit about each person, and I got into their personal histories and their futures, for that matter, and whatever it was that I could. And I got to the end of that race, and Alan Francis called me, and if you remember, Ali, he didn't have much to say ever. He said very, very little, and gee, he really let me have it. Wayne Meredith was there at the time, if you remember Wayne Meredith, and he was a bit of a mentor to me. In fact, he was a great mentor to me. And Ali just laid it on the line for me in his fewer words as Ali would string together. And I certainly wouldn't repeat the words that he used, but he certainly got me in line. And the next day we managed to find some clear water. I probably coxed the best race of my life that I'd ever done. Is found some really fast water. We pushed him out the way, and we broke the record at Buffalo Regatta. And if I remember correctly, we held that record for many years to come. But that was certainly goes down my memory of these two completely bipolar events of me in the same regatta. You know, how we got there and how we came back was quite colourful, and I remember that, and I'll always remember that.
Yeah, fantastic memories. Yeah, but Buffalo was always a special time, and I remember my time there too. It was really, really great. John, thank you.
I think when you were with us, we sunk our boat, didn't we?
We sank Alicat. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Well, we didn't successfully sink it. I think we got it underwater. I mean, the level of the water was was certainly over the gunnels. I actually don't even know. I think we swam back. I think we managed
we
to
did. We swam back with the boat on our shoulders, basically.
Yeah.
That's I remember that very well. So yeah,
because you guys were so fat, man. It wasn't because of me. You guys were so fat.
No, we blame it on you. You got us across those waves, man. It wasn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
true.
no, they were good times. John, thank you so much for your time. Also just from Jeppe Burton Blades, thank you for your support to date. It's really appreciated. And our ambition and our goal is to change the situation at Jeppe Rowing. We're looking to make Jeppe Rowing great again, and it's going to start with that first date. So thank you very much for your help to date, and thank you for the interview. Really good speaking to you again.
Yeah, it's good to speak to you all the way from Southeast Asia, and I really wish you well, and hopefully we can put it together that we see each other next year. It'll be the 40th year since our little crew was together, so it'd be great. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, John.